We know the Indiana Fever basketball team is owned by the Simon family. Yes, the Simon family. Herb Simon is the initial owner, right?
Just in, Fever owner sunblast Stephanie White over Clark's role change. Nobody expected this. The biggest problem for Caitlin Clark isn't a rival player or bad officiating. It's her own coach. Inside the Indiana Fever organization, tension is boiling. It starts with billionaire owners Herb and Steve Simon and ends with a coach who refuses to listen. After last season, sources say Steve Simon, the real power behind Pacers sports and entertainment, called an urgent meeting. His message was simple. From now on, it's CCT Caitlin Clark time. Build around her. But Coach Stephanie White didn't like that. Instead of celebrating, she reportedly argued, saying she'd rather build around Kelsey Mitchell. That single argument has sparked chaos. The locker room's uneasy. Fans are angry and Clark's development is slowing down. The truth is White's stubbornness is costing Indiana games money and momentum. So today, we're breaking down how one meeting turned into a war for control. And why. Unless things change soon, Caitlin Clark might be forced to walk away from the Fever altogether. The Indiana Fever are more than a basketball team, and they're part of a billion-dollar empire run by the Simon family. Herb Simon owns the Fever and the Pacers, but at 90-plus years old, he's not the one making calls. His son, Steve Simon, runs Pacers sports and entertainment, and he treats basketball like business. Every jersey sold, every TV rating, every seat filled, that's a scoreboard. When Caitlin Clark arrived, those numbers exploded. She turned the Fever into a national draw overnight. But when the team's play slowed down under Stephanie White, ticket sales cooled and the buzz faded. To Steve Simon, that wasn't just losing basketball. That was losing profit. He's a businessman first, and businessmen don't watch assets lose value. So, when White's system dulled the product, Steve Simon reportedly stepped in. He wanted the team rebuilt around the one person who made Indiana relevant again, Caitlin Clark. And that's where the real conflict began. Before Indiana, Caitlin Clark already felt like a superstar. In Iowa, she was must-see basketball, deep threes, lightning passes, and confidence that filled arenas. When the Fever drafted her, everything changed. The franchise went from overlooked to overflowing. Tickets sold out, merchandise vanished from stores, and fans lined up hours before tip-off. For the first time in years, the Fever mattered. At first, under Christie's sides, Clark had to adjust. The team struggled until they finally let her control the offense. And once they did, Indiana started winning. She pushed the pace, spread the floor, and made everyone better. The Fever even made the playoffs for the first time in ages. It looked like a new era was beginning. Fans expected the front office to double down on that success. Instead, they replaced side with Stephanie White, a coach whose philosophy couldn't be more different. Clark's freedom vanished, and so did the excitement. The Fever went from thrilling to predictable, all because their new coach thought she knew better than the player changing the league. Stephanie White came in talking about structure and balance. But when you got Caitlin Clark, you don't slow things down, you hand her the ball and let her create. Instead, White installed a system that looked like a high school practice. Endless motion, forced passes, no rhythm. Clark went from leading highlight reels to standing in the corner, watching plays crawl by. Those trademark logo threes gone. The arena energy disappeared. Fans noticed immediately. The Fever didn't look hungry anymore. They looked restricted. And White kept defending it, calling it discipline. Discipline doesn't win when it kills your best weapon. Every analyst could see the issue. The coach wanted control, not success. The result? Clark looked frustrated. Teammates looked confused, and the team's identity vanished. White inherited excitement and turned it into silence. And when a coach does that with a generational talent, it's not adjustment, it's failure. After the season, Steve Simon finally had enough. Reports say he called a closed-door meeting with Amber Cox, Kelly Kroskoff, and Stephanie White to address the team's direction. Simon told them straight. From here on out, it's Caitlin Clark time. Run the offense through her. He wasn't guessing he'd seen the numbers. When Clark excelled, the Fever sold out. When she disappeared, profits followed. To Simon, it was simple. protect the franchise's biggest draw. But White didn't take it well. Sources say she pushed back, arguing she wanted to center the offense on Kelsey Mitchell instead. She didn't like being told what to do. Simon's answer was blunt. You don't have to like it. It's happening. That moment drew the battle line between ownership and coaching. One side sees Clark as a centerpiece. The other sees her as a threat to authority. And since that meeting, things haven't been the same. You can measure basketball in stats, but owners measure success in dollars. When Caitlin Clark lights it up, the Fever are gold. Tickets vanish, sponsorships roll in, and every highlight leads the news. When she's stuck in a slow, directionless offense, everything cools off. Steve Simon sees that. He knows exactly what keeps the franchise alive. Caitlin Clark's magic. That's why he wanted the offense built around her. But Stephanie White's pride got in the way. Instead of adjusting, she doubled down on her system, treating Clark like just another guard. The result? Attendance dropped, excitement disappeared, and fans started tuning out. Even casual viewers can tell the difference. The Fever used to play with fire. Now they look afraid to make mistakes. Basketball is a business, and business is about momentum. Stephanie White has turned that momentum into quicksand. If the Fever don't fix it, ownership will, because nothing gets an owner's attention faster than empty seats. Then came the comment that sent everyone spinning. Stephanie White said she planned to build around Kelsey Mitchell, not Caitlin Clark. Mitchell's a strong scorer, no question, but she's not the franchise. She doesn't draw national audiences or spike TV numbers. Clark does. That statement showed exactly what's wrong. White's focus isn't on winning, it's on control. By naming Mitchell the centerpiece, she alienated her superstar and confused the locker room. Veterans started whispering. Rookies didn't know who to follow, and fans were left wondering how a coach could ignore the obvious. Every great team has one clear identity. The Fever should be simple. Play through Clark. Let her run the show. Instead, White's obsession with hierarchy has turned teammates into rivals. And that's dangerous because once a locker room splits, it rarely heals. If White keeps forcing this, Clark's next big move might be out of Indiana altogether. Caitlin Clark's talent thrives on freedom, quick decisions, fast breaks, unpredictable shots. But under Stephanie White, that freedom's gone. Her scoring is down, her tempo's off, and you can see the frustration in her body language. Instead of using Clark's creativity, White boxes her into a safe system built on passes and half-court sets. It's like putting a sports car in traffic and wondering why it's not moving. Clark still finds ways to shine. She always does, but she's fighting her own coach as much as the defense. The game looks heavy now, not joyful. White calls it discipline, but discipline without trust kills confidence. If White really understood modern basketball, she'd know you build around your floor general, not around your ego. Until that happens, Indiana's offense will stay predictable, and their superstar will keep fading behind the coach's playbook. When leadership cracks, players feel it first. Inside the Fever locker room, that crack has become a split. Half the roster looks to Clark, the other half to White. Nobody's sure whose vision to follow. The energy that once fueled this young team has turned into confusion. Amber Cox and Kelly Krokoff are stuck balancing ownership pressure with White's resistance, and everyone else is just trying to survive the tension. Clark remains professional, smiling in interviews, staying focused, but you can see the strain. She's trying to carry both the team and the drama. That's not sustainable. No locker room wins when the star and the coach aren't on the same page. This isn't about personality anymore. It's about direction. If Indiana wants peace, it needs alignment. Right now, all it has is silence and side eyes. And silence never wins championships. If the Fever keep losing and attendance keeps dropping, Steve Simon won't stay quiet. He's seen what works. Fast tempo, freedom, and Caitlin Clark at the center. He's also seen what doesn't slow offense, poor chemistry, and coaches who can't adapt. At some point, Simon will protect his investment. That could mean new leadership, new systems, or even a mid-season coaching change. Because let's face it, Clark isn't just another player. She's the future of the WNBA, and the league knows it. If Indiana can't maximize her talent, another franchise will. Her patience is admirable, But every superstar has a limit. If things don't change, she may eventually ask out, and the Fever would never recover from that. The path forward is clear. Rebuild trust. Hand Clark the keys and stop fighting the obvious. It's either evolution or extinction. Stephanie White isn't leading the Fever forward. She's holding them back. She took a rising team and turned it into a slow-motion experiment. She's alienated her best player, ignored ownership, and drained excitement from a city that finally cared again. At some point, excuses don't matter. Results do, and the results under White are awful. The Fever don't need more structure. They need belief. They need energy. They need a coach who understands that Caitlin Clark isn't just part of the offense. She is the offense. If the front office truly wants to save this franchise, it's time for bold action. Fire Stephanie White. Rebuild around the player who put Indiana back on the map. Because every game that passes under this regime is another wasted opportunity for growth, revenue, and history. It's time to stop pretending this can be fixed with patience. The Fever don't need patience. They need a reset. Fire her. Restore the